Call the meeting to order and welcome everybody this evening. Deputy Mayor Bell, for everybody's information, will be about, well, he said about an hour late, so if we really do this right to the T, he can come in and adjourn and walk back out again. Or maybe we can meet him on the steps as we're all walking out. But he said he had another engagement, so he will be an hour late this evening. If you could rise with me and repeat the Lord's Prayer, or take a moment of reflection at your discretion. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. I'll ask any of the council, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof on this evening's agenda? Seeing none, of course, if it does arise, it can be declared at any time throughout the meeting. We have no closed session, so there'll be no matters arising. Public meetings, Mark, we have none. And the consent agenda. I have a motion moved by David Mollison and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of Council of the Municipality of West Grey, held on April 15th, 2013, and the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, held on April 29th, 2013, be approved as printed. And further, that the minutes of the West Grey Committees A2 be received as circulated. Is there any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay, there you go, Mark. And that will move us along then. Back to communications from Mayor and Council. Is there any Council members have any communication you want to share with the rest of Council? Councillor Lawrence.
So the rec committees are doing. My button. Thank you. The Allenwood Community Center is going to be holding, and I believe you're going to be asked to take part in this, Mr. Mayor.
It's not a dunk tank, is it?
No, it's a flipping hamburgers. The community center is going to have a barbecue at Grant's Independent, June the 8th, and that's to raise money to help buy some of these chairs that we need. They have all the new tables in upstairs, and now they need 300 chairs. So there isn't enough in the budget for all of them, so this is a fundraiser. And Newstead, the rec committee, is promoting a village-wide yard sale on June the 8th. So people are just put their stuff out and people come and shop the village. They're responsible for taking it in or putting it away. But and lastly, you asked me last week to do a tour bus that came to town. It was 47 seniors from Ilderton, and they were on a mystery tour. And the mayor called me and asked me if I could meet them and take them around town. He had a meeting otherwise. So it's quite a thing. They get on the bus and they don't know where they're going. It's just a mystery. And so I told them they were in West Grey and told them some history of Durham and West Grey and toured them around the murals. That's what they wanted to see, and some history of them, history of the town, and showed them our main buildings, and they were just quite intrigued with Durham. Took them up around the dam and back along by the river. And they ended up at the Legion and had lunch there. They were going on to the Frontier Village on the Markdale Road and then going to Welbeck and back home. So I was mentioning to them how beautiful our flowers are later in the summer, and they might consider coming to see that or coming individually. So it was fun. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Enjoyed it.
Well, no, thank you. It was kind of at last minute. That's what you kind of left out of the story. It wasn't until Wednesday we found out, and they were showing up Thursday morning.
Quarter to 5.
Well, I found out at 4:30, so I got onto the phone quick. But thank you very much for doing that, and it would be very nice if we could find other tours, because there's a fair number of buses up and down, and I think Lucan has found the municipality to be very open, and from your good words, maybe the word will spread as well too. Great. Any other good news or celebrations, communications? Do have a couple. Was fortunate enough to be down to the Durham Activity Center's fishing derby on Saturday down at the Varney Pond. The fish were biting like they have never have before. I think this was the 15th or 16th year. There was some discussion on just how long it's been going, and it was back at Varney. I was there about 10:30. The best day that they've ever had was they had 268 fish caught in one day. I was there at 10:30 and they had 249 caught already. Mr. Sullivan, Dan Sullivan, kind of chairs it and operates it. They had Saturday and Sunday going, and they have prizes for both days. They were already, Faye was away home to get the Sunday prizes to start filling out for the Saturday. They were still taking fish out of there. It was very successful, and it never ceases to amaze me. While I was standing at the table, there was two individuals come up. One was from just outside of Georgetown, and the other little guy that come up, he was from Guelph. He was up to see friends, and they were out to do the fishing, and there was a lot of people from West Grey and surrounding communities as well too, so very well participated. And if your catch was not fish, was at the town hall for the horticultural plant sale. It started at 9 o'clock for what I thought. I got there at 20 after 9, and it was, very much out of luck. I got some very short tomato plants. They weren't the size that I was looking for, but they'll do quite well. And that was operated very well as well too. One other thing I just wanted to say to Council and to Councillor Eccles, who is a commissioner with the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. The annual report was out and was in our baskets. Very glossy and colorful pictures and paper, and a good report for a year for Saugeen Valley. So congratulations to Saugeen Valley on being able to do quite well, and going forward we look for bigger and better things from them. Well, thank you. One other thing, there are 2 golf tournaments. If anybody would like to help out our youth, the Durham, who is this? The Durham Recreation? Durham Minor Sports? Durham Minor Sports, June 1st. Correct, Don? Their golf tournament at the Ferns, and they're still looking for teams. I'm going to be at the won't be home yet from the police conference, the Ontario Police Conference, so will not be able to participate. 2 weeks after that, the West Grey Minor Hockey are having their golf tournament at the Homestead. So anybody that would like to participate, jump forward and have a team. It's always a good time. If you haven't golfed much, you'll still look well out there. Well, twice. This will be a third time. Third time's a charm. Councillor Cutting, you do well out there.
Can you golf on horseback? Is it called polo then?
No, if you golf on horseback, it's called polo.
Oh, okay.
So no, you can't.
No, okay.
No, the owners are not that keen on having that, unless you've got very, very small.
Really nice grazing.
Yeah, very, very small horse feet. Yeah, the greens don't offer much for the horse. Okay, enough. Any other communication? Very good. We'll move on then back into the agenda. Delegations. This evening we have Chief Berger is here. and wants to give us an update of where we're at with working with animal welfare and control in that aspect. So Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you. Carrie will show you how to operate the IT there. It's a button you push there.
I do good to get my emails at work, and that's about it.
Angie has told us about that, so thank you.
Yeah. First of all, I have to apologize to council. I didn't give you a written report, and that basically because I've had discussions with stakeholders right up until and including this afternoon. Basically, this is where we stand right now. When the OSPCA does shut down, we're prepared to take the calls that come in from the public about neglect animals or whatever the case may be, animal associated type calls, and we'll deal with those on an individual basis and delegate, if you will, from there, whether it's a criminal investigation or other type of violation, if you will, of the OSPCA Act. These individual calls, a lot of them will be having to knock on doors of some commodities. Now, I was able to obtain a list of commodities to deal with different kinds of animals, with the exception of small animals, or pets, if you want to call them. I'm sensing by the research I've done, again, criminal investigation, let me just backtrack a bit. Criminal investigation, we have to prove willful neglect of the animals. A lot of cases I'm learning are simply that people either don't have the funding, don't have the knowledge, or whatever the case may be. In a lot of these cases, we're going to have to call upon these commodities who have offered to assist us with different types of animals to at least go to the scene and determine whether or not these animals are actually being neglected or in distress or something like that. I'm going to suggest that upwards of maybe almost 90% of these calls are going to be animal welfare calls, which are going to come with a considerable cost, if you will. There's going to be there could potentially be the removal of the animals, lodging of the animals, any veterinary type care, stuff like that. I don't have any numbers. I wasn't able to obtain any numbers. When we're talking about small animals, a lot of it will, or many of them will involve taking a vet with us to determine whether or not an animal is in distress or needs to be removed or needs veterinary care, whatever. That also comes with a price tag associated to it. So those are things that need to be considered by council. Another thing needs to be considered is our bylaw. We really don't have a bylaw that deals with multiple animals. We have a bylaw that strictly deals with dogs. At least that's the only one I'm familiar with. I've looked at a few. I've spent a few hours this weekend going through a couple of potential templates. I do have one that's a real good template, in my opinion. I mean, it's something that I could present to council, and they can take it and either run with it or chop it up, make to suit our needs, something, whatever it is. Other costs incurred would be follow up. We could make an order to whoever the individual is that you gotta start doing this to look after your animal, whatever the case may be. And there'd be follow-up, and again, we would have to, in a lot of cases, call upon these commodities to come with us to make determination, because they're the ones that have the knowledge, in this area. Again, I suggest that isn't going to come without a cost as well. Reader's Digest version, we will take. I'm quite prepared to have the initial calls go to the police, and we'll treat one on an individual basis to see where it needs to go, whether it needs criminal investigation or some sort of investigation under the OSPCA Act, and the rest would have to go somewhere else.
Okay, thanks, Chief. No, there's been a number of groups working very diligently and hard on this, and I think, as you said, from the commodity group aspect, with OFA, Ontario Federation of Agriculture, Gray and Bruce, have been taking this very seriously and have been able to give us a very good framework to work with. as far as working with their commodity group individuals and getting some contacts there to work through this. Any questions at this point in time where we might go? I guess the biggest thing then is, Chief, we better hope that the phone doesn't ring. Have we had any cases, files turned over from
We
Grey
just
Bruce
about,
SPCA?
we just about 1 hour ago removed 6 horses from a residence that were in distress. We had other neglect of animals and animal welfare. It was kind of a double-edged sword, if you will. Incident up in Normanby Township that we looked after is still under investigation. I would suggest there will likely be criminal charges pending out of that one. And we did deal with one. There was a stray thought to be a neglected cat in Newstead. It was, in fact, wasn't neglected or brutalized, really, cat. They thought the cat was burnt, but we did what we had to do. We took the cat to a vet, and it was determined that the cat was not abused, that it was so infested with lice that it appeared to be burned. But it still had to be euthanized, and we're going to have to cover the cost for that.
Mm-hmm. Is there any ongoing SPCA cases that they have turned over to us, or?
Not specifically turned over to me. I understand there was, but I haven't received anything yet.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's one of the things.
Those are the 3, well, one's already finished, the cat issue. There's 2 issues we're working on with right now,
Mm-hmm.
with the OSPCA.
Okay. All right. Anything else we want to ask the Chief at this point in time? Don, Councillor Marshall.
I guess there's 2 situations. One's a criminal neglect situation that's going on, and one is a economic thing that's going on where people just can't afford to feed their animals anymore.
That's right.
So if that was the case, like if it was economical, is it something that you leave the animals there and we bring in feed for the animals at that location instead of trucking them up to Katy?
There is, again, we have to deal on an individual basis. The OFA have offered to help us with, if the animal needs feed, to supply feed and things like that. That's all I can say about that. There are doors we can knock on, but a number of them will come with a price tag attached to it. I have a list of people here that'll supply us hay if we need it. There's resources out there, but I would suggest in many cases it's going to come with a price tag. Today if I got a call about hay, sheep or horses or cows that need hay, I have a resource list here. I would be able to get a hold of some right now. But it would come with a price tag attached to it.
So the officers are going to make a judgment call at that time whether the animals have to
I don't know, not always the officers. It'll have to be, I understand that cattle under certain circumstances can be underfed. One of these commodity listed people here would have to come with the officer and make a determination, somebody that has the expertise. I'm sure I probably have a couple officers that still think chocolate milk comes from brown cows. We just haven't got, some of them just don't have the expertise. So. Well, I did up until I was about 8.
Is that good, Don? I hope we haven't broken that for you now that you understand chocolate milk doesn't come from brown cows.
I'm just wondering where that strawberry milk comes from.
From a red
Cows that eat strawberries?
From a red hole.
Any other questions for the Chief at this time? We certainly had discussion at this at the Police Services Board, and one of our concerns there, yes, it will be looked after. I don't think for a minute that our forces can't handle it. In the last number of years, it's been 2 to 3 calls a month. What we can't find out is how much follow-up and what happened with those cases. Was it, yeah, this is natural farm practices, but was that 90% of them that's where it was left at, from people that just didn't know, just plain ignorance of not knowing what normal farm practices are? Or was there more to it of a follow-up, and where that cost, if there is going to be a follow-up, certainly something that from a police services board we're concerned with is the municipality. Is there going to be a line in the police budget that's identified to that, or would it be municipal? And that's something I believe that we have to discuss and will be discussing, I think, at committee of the whole next Monday. I know that the chief would, if there's a budget, if there's a line in the budget, he hopes that there's one in expenses, but there's also one in revenue somewhere along the line to offset it.
Well,
Chief?
we want to see it come to my budget, but we'll discuss that a little later. But if you'd like to, maybe for consideration for the committee of the whole, I can print off a template of this bylaw that I have, because now we have, council needs to consider other issues. You got to look at kennels now. Do you have to limit the number? Limit the number of dogs people can have. That type of thing. There's a number of things that come with this that should be dealt with by bylaw too, and who ultimately is going to enforce these bylaws. It addresses wild animals, and I really don't think there's a bylaw here, is there? There's a whole
On wild animals?
kettle of fish that comes with this, and if you're interested, I can print one of these off and I'll give it to you, and you can bring it up to committee of the whole meeting. But in my opinion, I've read this over on the weekend from top to bottom, and it's an excellent template.
Maybe we could use that, ask, I think, Mark, you're still preparing that agenda for the committee as a whole, so if we could have that for the committee as a whole.
Actually, I'll give you this right now, as long as I can get a copy back of it. That's also, I can have one for my file.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll do that. And thanks, Chief. Okay, anything else at this point in time? I guess to reassure the public, we will be taking calls and be investigating them and doing the follow-up with that on animal health and husbandry, and hopefully that there won't be any calls that need to follow up, and that things go the way they're supposed to. But we know that in the world of people out there are mistakes made, so we'll find
Well, I can assure everybody that every call we receive with respect to animals be looked at and will be distributed somehow, whether we look after it or some other agency looks after it, but every call will go answered and will be dealt with and properly and distributed to whoever we feel should be looking after that particular case on an individual basis.
Yeah. As I said, there's a lot of the commodity groups out there that are on board and want to help out as well too, so it's not like we're lacking for partners in this, Chief. So community effort, and we'll get to where we certainly need to be for the safety of the residents.
I do have 4
And the
pages
animals.
here, people's doors we can knock on. So.
Yeah, great. Okay, and just wanted to say you and Councillor Thompson in my absence were up to Markdale, and that's a couple of weeks ago, to really get some of that going. So thanks again, Rob, for attending on behalf of the municipality.
It was like old times.
I thought you two would be familiar enough on, yeah.
You still won't drive.
And if you ever drove with him, you'd see why. You'd say, Chief, you're right.
That's why he was really more comfortable with the Durham police on the walking than he was West Grey and the whole big area. Very good.
Spend an hour in a car with Rob, you don't need a manicure, that's for sure.
Any rebuttal, Councillor Thompson? Very good. Okay, thanks very much for the update, and we'll continue working forward, Chief. Very good. Yep. Yeah. Well, I don't know. The sheet that we got, the information sheet, what is that? I didn't really ask him, but
He'll come back.
just,
Or that will come back.
no, it was just
For information.
just information that came forward, and I think Mark has just given it to us, but should be for conversation going forward at committee of the whole, yeah. Because a little off. Okay. That's it for delegations, Mark. Any business arising from the previous meeting? I don't have any. I don't think there is. It's to be addressed within the agenda tonight. That brings us down to staff reports. And Mrs. Mighton, you are here. Carrie, welcome. And we have Carrie's report is there. The vouchers, we'll start with that. Are there any questions? Councillor Mollison.
Your worship, on
If you can hit that button so the rest of us can hear.
Okie dokie. On page 21, under police capital expense, it says new cruiser, Mako Auto Painting, April the 8th. Why would they need to paint a new cruiser?
It wasn't as much about painting as it is for the decalling and the best dressed
Okay.
vehicle in Canada.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
That's what it is. It's not
Okay, well,
painting,
just-
it's decalling. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I realize, yeah, it says painting, but that's for the decalling and the doing it up.
All right, that's fair enough.
Okay.
But when one looks at this,
Yeah.
looks like the car never made it to service before it had to get painted.
Painted.
And, okay,
All
thank
right.
you. Yep.
Yep, very good. Any other questions? Councillor Eccles, John?
Same item. Mako, I think the closest one is Kitchener. Is there nowhere closer we can get them done?
Rene? He must have, he had a premonition, didn't he? You're correct. It's not so much about closer can we get them done as the company that does the decalling, and that was the best price that we could get. Okay? Went out for a competitive bids on that, and understanding that was the cars themselves, I believe, Bev, come out of Kitchener, so they were right there. Went just across the street from what I kind of understand, and that's why they're done that way. Okay, any other questions on the vouchers we've had in front of us? Okay, seeing none. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 9, 2013 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $343,931.66. Is there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay. And Carrie, you have one other article there is the councillor enumeration for April. It's for information purposes. Is there any questions or comments on that? No? Mr. Rapke, did you attend all of those meetings that you're indicated there for? Oh, and you missed all of those meetings? Mr. Thompson? What I'm indicating on is the lines as you go across. It indicates that Mark went to the insurance, I believe, the Youth Roots meeting and the OFA, OSPCA meeting. So I noticed that it is just one of those lines where it just bounced up there a little bit. And I think Carrie will make that noted little difference there. So we're not trying to say that you didn't get there. Rob, you were there. And he was covering for you again, Councillor Rapke. Yeah, that's all that's there. Okay. Any other questions for Carrie? Before she leaves us? Okay. Thank you then, Carrie. Yeah, you never look at your own, you're right. That, I believe, then brings us down, Ken, to your report. The first one is dealing with the upgrades with the Normanby Arena. Do you want to give us any other information that we should know here?
Yes, there was actually 3 quotes sent out, but there was just 2 come back in, and the lowest quote is from Dom Construction. It is slightly over budget. I believe some of the work has been revisited with Frank Dom, and they've got it lowered to it's just about $1,171 over the budget, and it's recommended that we move forward with it at that cost. And I believe Tom's been talking to Kerry in regards to possibly come out of capital reserve or the operations side. So
Tom can find a little bit of cream in his budget and cover that slight overbid. Okay. Any other questions on it before I introduce the motion? I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey Council accepts the revised quote from Dom Construction Limited to provide 3 rolling shutters for the snack booth, kitchen and bar, and a cabinet and countertop for the snack booth at the Normanby Arena at a cost of $11,171 plus applicable taxes. And if it's okay with the mover and seconder, we've got council in here twice on the motion, if you heard me reading it, so I'll take one out. Okay. Any questions on the motion? Mark, Councillor Rapke.
Before you escape, there's money in the capital budget, or the capital reserve, sorry.
Yeah, there's some in the reserves. They were planning on transferring a portion to reserves this year in the budget.
Just transferring less. Okay,
yeah.
Good. All I want to know, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay. There, Mark. Ken, the equipment quotes. You want any update on that?
yeah, we've asked for quotations each spring for equipment rental that we don't have in our fleet, and we certainly receive a good selection of quotes each year, and we try to choose a contractor based on price, availability, and past workmanship. And there is a good list to choose from again this year, and Joyce has prepared the list for council's review, and we can move forward with selecting contractors as we need them. So,
any questions or comments on the list? It's cheaper to run a triaxle in the winter time than it is in the summertime, I take it. Go ahead.
yes, we get a preferred price. I think that's more for snow removal on the main street of Durham here. So.
Okay. If there's no questions on the list, I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey authorizes the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works and/or roads and utility supervisors to select quotations from the equipment required subject to price, availability, and workmanship. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ken? Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
hosted by the Township of Chatsworth. And it was with Brian Johnson, who is our liquor inspector, but his sergeant was there. I think that's the right term, Rob, is it? Mike, and I can't remember his last name. Very knowledgeable, very specific, very firm. It was an excellent meeting, and I've come into the information from at my Ellenwood meeting from Dan Wilkin, the Brockton rec director, that they are hosting the same meeting tomorrow night at the Knights of Columbus in Walkerton. That's the one between Walkerton and Mildmay. It's at 7 o'clock, and I really think it's imperative that our two arena managers and our CAO should be there. I know Ken can't because he's leaving tomorrow morning for a business trip. I know that Tom is going. In fact, we changed our rec meeting in Ayton so that he could attend. But there was a lot of good information, and certainly dealing with alcohol policy, of which we're going to be talking on the 4th of June, and reviewing and changing, or at least amending ours. So if there's any possible way that Randy and Christine could go, I think it would be really beneficial and really important to what we're doing right now. It was an excellent meeting. There was a lot of mayors and councillors, facility managers, CAOs at it. This one may have a different audience. There may be more volunteers and bartenders, so the questions coming forth might be somewhat different, but it is the same presentation, and we've not had it before. It's different. I don't know, Rob, if you have anything else on that, but...
You want to comment? You could turn your...
Yeah, we got John here. Yeah, no, it was worthwhile going to that meeting, and a lot more information, different train of thought now than initially when we first discussed this, but yeah, it's out there. So there's other sessions, I think, throughout the area too that are going to be going on from what I understand. But yeah, as of last Wednesday night's homecoming meeting, they did bring up that we are going to get together with our liquor inspector and go through their ground rules and so on before homecoming 2014 in Elmwood. So we're going to be working on that. So with the new rules and whatever else, and whatever Brockton decides and what they're going to do their facility, so we have to get together on that.
Go ahead,
If I might, things are constantly changing. There were a number of things brought forward that new regulations on the 2nd of May of this year. So, you know, there's things there. That's why it was so beneficial.
With that in mind, Christine, is there a chance for other staff to be available?
I can confirm that Tom's going. I spoke with Randy this afternoon, and he's identified that he's not available, as I'm not available for this meeting. However, we do have a June 4th meeting that has been arranged for some time with our liquor inspector for the specific purpose of reviewing our existing liquor license or liquor bylaw. The intent is to look at all the regulations that are required to be in it. So that was the sole purpose of having that meeting. It's nice to know that AGCO is having these other meetings. We did attend one at Katy, and we'll keep a mindful eye on future meetings. If we're not able to make the tomorrow night, we're still covered because we've got the June 4th meeting.
But the June 4th meeting is really just about our liquor alcohol policy, alcohol policy. This one is more, like looking at Carol and Rob, who are at the one in Chatsworth, is more on the licensing, and after we're going through that process 6 months ago, how things continuously keep changing. So would there be any, is there anybody else, Ken or Christine, that from the facility, so we could throw that invitation out and get them there?
We can ask if there's staff that are available to attend this. Certainly the June 4th opportunity, we could discuss anything dealing with licensing facilities with the inspector as well.
And as you said, Carol, that meeting tomorrow night is not just limited to staff. Council can go as well too, or any elected official. So we'll throw that out. Everybody's looking at their calendars to make sure that they can get there.
I would just like to say that this is, in fact, they made comment, this was not like the meeting that was in Katy. It was a different information and a lot more informative.
Okay. All right, well, Christine, we'll see, leave it in your capable hands to see if we can get some more staff there. I do know that Ken, yes, Ken's not going to be available for certain, but hopefully if we have somebody else that's in Ontario, they can get there. Okay. All right, thank you for that. Ken, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Sorry. The update on the bridge, the new bridge on Road 63, it's scheduled to have the deck placed on it on the 27th of May, which is the Monday, the day of the Committee of the Whole, so possibly we can, if it happens that day, we've had some delays on our scheduling here, but possibly the committee could break for a little bit or something, I'm not sure, but we'll...
Well, what we could do is maybe we could rent some type of a small bus or something and just be a mobile meeting. We could, you know, continue the meeting as we go down. Yeah, prefab the meeting. Good idea, Mark, yeah. Especially when you're in West Grey, yes. We have all the county gravel roads now. There's no more that they can download to it. Yeah. We'll see what we can, maybe that'll be a lunchtime thing or something like that, Ken.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, Amol is planning to come up and do a photo op there, so possibly some of the council could attend if we can make arrangements.
Yeah, well, between now and then, we'll be able to get some timing and possibly arrange for that. We'll work with it. That's good. Anything else? Ken? Okay. All right. Ken, have a safe trip. Oh, one other thing just before. You are going to go and investigate graders, maintainers, and speaking of that, we have 2 in our budget. Any update on when they may see them here in West Grey doing work on our gravel roads?
Sorry. The week of June the 3rd, they're scheduled to be delivered to West Grey, yes.
Great. Look forward to that. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ken. And have a safe trip. Bring back lots of good information for us. Okay. Then we'll move down to the clerk's report. Mark, this must be yours. The first one is on wind energy, the Eastern Wind Energy Project, and just an update from the committee meeting and the letter that proposed to be sent off.
Yeah, the draft letter is before you. The one item I will mention is the letter was drafted just prior to receipt of the May 16th email from Derek Dudek of Nextera, who they sought to clarify their request in terms of the peer review and the municipal consultation form process, and also have asked about possibly meeting with West Grey representatives this week or next.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from that? Interesting to see what Nextera comes back with. Bev, Councillor Cutting.
Sorry.
Can we talk about the letter for just a second?
That's what it's here for, yes.
There's just a couple of spots, Mark, where I think we should, and I'm sorry I didn't get back to you, but I couldn't get my emails open or anything. So, let me find it here. There's a couple of spelling mistakes, and let me just find them here. There's a couple of spots too where I thought maybe there should be an S on a couple of them if we're going to just do this. Right here, maybe. Yeah, on the first paragraph, instead of where we've got studies, I think completion of a peer review of the studies, do you think it should be peer reviews of the studies, just because there's more than, that's in the first paragraph, about the fourth line down? Good.
You're saying West Grey Council will need to review the completed peer review, is that what you mean?
Yeah, completion of a,
There's only one peer review, it's a
I
review of all
suppose
the
it's a
studies.
containment of it, so of the studies submitted, yeah, so,
Yeah,
okay.
you're talking in line 4 there. No,
Yes.
I think he's got it correct. Completion of a peer review of the study submitted by Nextera.
Okay,
It may take different branches, but it is one peer review.
one peer review, okay.
Can I ask a question, though? It may well
ahead.
be by different firms that are doing these peer reviews, though, different professionals
No, it'll be one firm that will be leading it.
with
They may,
several different.
yeah,
Okay,
but it'll be information, they may subcontract some of it,
okay.
but it would be a peer review, and yeah, as I said, they could subcontract the hydrogeology or the straight voltage or the,
Right.
yeah, whichever.
Under the road
Birds.
use agreement, under B, the line that starts with such reports, I think that report should have an S on it. Such reports, when completed, will be provided to the municipality for peer review. Otherwise, it shouldn't say such. Such report when completed, or should it be such reports when completed?
Again, I think it will be one report, they'll look at different facets, they'll comment on each study, but in one peer review and one report, so it may be best to say that the report when completed.
Okay,
That
maybe
might be
V
better.
rather than such report, it just doesn't sound right. All right, and then also down here, there is a spelling mistake down here. Let me find it. Okay, yeah, the word is just not right.
Okay, you find?
Oh, yeah, right there. In the paragraph, the last line, and it starts, in response to your response dated, blah, blah, blah. A copy of the pre-construction survey is required to be submitted to the municipality upon, you've got corn completion? Or is that is that
Mine's come.
That copy.
upon,
No, it's here.
is that an M, or?
No, yours looks like corn.
Mine looks like corn, is it completion? Does mine, okay, because mine looks like corn completion. All right, so it's just my, doesn't that look like corn
No,
completion?
it's a bad scale. It's a bad scale.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we were right when we sent it in. All right. And I do have another question.
As long as it's not on spelling, we'll be okay.
I received an email today from one of the women who worked on the subcommittee with us for the wind turbines, sending me a reference to wind resistance, which is the, one of the groups that is against wind turbines in Ontario. And it is saying that the East Durham Wind Corporation, or this East Durham Wind Project, now has a 45-day comment period, which started May 14th and ends June 28th. Did we know anything about this? This is to the Minister of the Environment. Because this needs to be put out to the public. This is where the public can make comments. The posting is for a proposed renewable blah, 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 East Durham Wind, to the Durham Wind Project, and the comment period is for the public to review the proposal and provide comments and input directly to the ministry. So this has kind of gone under the table here, and we need to let the public know that they can go on the website and make comments, which will be taken into consideration. All comments received prior to June 28th will be considered as part of the decision-making process by the Ministry of the Environment if they are submitted in writing or electronically using the form provided in this notice. So they absolutely, we need to get the public to make comment, because that's part of the consultation form. If they get no comments, even though it's kind of been swept under the table for this, if they get no comments, it's going to look not very good. So it needs to be in the paper that the consultation period is from May 14th till June 28th. They are to go on to the, they can either go on to the wind resistance website, and they have a link there to it, or it can go on to the Ministry of the Environment and make comment there. And that way their comments will be received at the ministry.
Was that coming from the, is it on the Environmental Bill of Rights, the EBR? Is that where those comments are to be made
I've
too?
just lost it here. Hang on one second. I don't know why my thing just went, but just give me a second here and I'll find out.
I did see that come through earlier today, and I didn't get a chance to open it yet. But if it is there,
It's next, it's by Wind Action, and it's the environmental registry description. And it's for the Ministry of the Environment. So when it says continue reading, it takes you directly to the, where do I get to the end? And you go down here, environmental registry is what it's under. And then it says under the public consultation, it'll have a read more. You go there and it takes you straight to the Ministry of the Environment page where you can make comment.
okay. Well,
It is an EBR registry number.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking for?
yes, that's,
Do you want the registry number?
yep, Mark will need that to post it, and
Yes, the registry,
press.
EBR registry number is 011-9146. Pardon me?
okay.
I can forward this to Mark, yes.
Yeah, if you can forward that on, that would be good.
Okay? How do we do that? Yes. I'm gonna do that, so.
Okay, well, that's still what we need, so here, before we get off too far on an EBR report, is the letter itself that we have in front of us to go. That helps out with anybody in the public that wants to comment, which I certainly hope they will, gives them that opportunity.
Thank you. Yes, I knew that, I just didn't think of it.
What are you looking for, Mr. Mayor? Like a motion to approve the letter, or?
Yeah.
Yes, and we have that here. So that's what the working group wanted to do when we met last week. So I have a motion moved by Mark Rapke and seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby authorizes the Mayor to forward the letter contained in the regular agenda clerk report CR number 05-21-2013 as further amended by Council to NextEra Energy Canada. And Mark said that he will float that through before I sign it once more through spell check. Good. Want me to read it again, or? Okay. Any other questions on the motion? This is just to send off the letter in response to Nextera's letter as to what needs to be done really before we will even consider moving forward with our consultation forms. John?
I apologize.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I apologize, Council, for being a little late. I had another meeting before this. I guess I'm here at the end of the discussion. I apologize for that. I just wanted to catch up to speed here. So this, in no way, no how, no sense, has anything to do with the correspondence that's in our package, whether we support or reject that. But as this is going forward, this is to send the letter that was drafted in our package, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
This is just a letter that's in the package telling Nextera what they absolutely must do and what we are still requiring them to do in response to what their letter was, and saying, you know, that we, nobody else in the country has encased cable, nobody is asking for peer reviews.
Very good, very good. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows, and with the letter that we did have with the limited amount of us that were at that meeting, know that there were some, shall we say, some falsities, if I can use the correct point and term, in that letter from this Nextera.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on the motion? Fine, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Now, Nextera has asked for a meeting with, to open up or continue discussion. I believe it was with the road use agreement and a couple of other things in there, Mark. And at this point in time, I don't know whether it needs to be with all council, but with that working group. And unless all council wants to be there, I mean, it's not a big deal, but the working group was with Councillor Lawrence Cutting and Rapke and myself. Oh yeah, Ken, Mark, there will be some other staff there as well too. Yeah, I guess what I'm asking, they've sent some dates forward. Is council okay with having the working group at this point in time work through that? Can you use your mic?
The letter that we're sending back is giving them an outline and a response to their concerns about, you know, the concrete, et cetera, which is basically what they're asking. And so I think that letter should go back to them first. I don't really see at this point a need to have a meeting with them to just hash out the fact that they don't want to put the lines in concrete. Well, that's what West Grey is requiring. So basically, when I read this, it looks to me like they just want to come to a resolution regarding the road use agreement. Well, that's exactly what they want. They want to say they don't want the concrete pipes, or like they did the last one. So is there any point in meeting until that letter goes back and we get a response back again? I don't know.
Deputy Mayor Bell. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And along with that, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, did you speak to me in a conversation about the fact that they did put lines in concrete across the Niagara Escarpment in West Lincoln?
The only correction I'll say, it wasn't in West Lincoln, it was in the town of Lincoln. So,
Town of Lincoln on the west side of that before you go up over top of the escarpment. Okay, all right. Technically, we're still in the same place.
Exactly. No, on there. And yeah, at the OSM conference, talked to a councillor from town of Lincoln, and he informed me that yes, they put their collection cables and generation cables in a concrete conduit to go over the escarpment.
So going forward with that, recognizing we haven't had a whole lot of wind turbine construction in our municipality before, obviously this question hasn't arose before. And I guess dealing with different companies, like it was suggested in this letter that we do, I would think that yes, what has happened in the past may be good for the past, but going forward into the future, recognizing a completely different development, I think there's certain rules and protocols need to be followed. So I hope that this one would be adhered to fairly strongly, and this needs to happen, recognizing I think our municipality is just as important as the one in Lincoln, and I think that we get to choose as councillors what needs to be done for the goodness of the municipality.
And if I can add, the safety of our constituents.
Very true.
Okay. Now, Councillor Cutting has mentioned, is there any need at this point in time, unless Nextera is coming forward with new options and/or proposals on the requirements at West Grey, the meeting would be of no use.
That would be my interpretation of it. They're looking for resolutions regarding, in other words, they want to change it.
You two coordinated down there.
I need a mic here, then I will turn it on, that's my problem.
Mark, Councillor Rapid.
I guess my question is there the discussion they want to have on the, I read the letter, but I haven't quite memorized it, but do they want to, if they're talking about the road use agreement in general, there's more components to it than just the concrete encasement, like should we be having a discussion at least to come to terms on the agreement as a whole? It may be that after that initial discussion we still have some things that we aren't aligned on, but at least then we would have some sort of a framework. I'm a little, I mean, if I'm not sure, but if they're asking to meet and we're refusing to meet, I'm not sure how that's going to be viewed in terms of the process. I don't know the process well enough, so I'm just a little hesitant to say no.
I wouldn't necessarily say no to a meeting. I just think
You want to wait till after they.
I think they need to get that letter to let them know where we stand.
Okay.
And then, because they're asking, they want to come to get a resolution regarding the road use agreement. So in other words, they're wanting to change our mind.
Yep.
And so my concern is that they need to receive that letter as to where we stand and what we're doing and what we're sticking to, and let them come back to us.
Yeah.
It doesn't need, we don't need to say no, we just need to send that letter and let them come back to us.
So you want them to absorb the letter and then?
Yes.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And I would also like, Mark, in the time when, if they decide and send more dates, I would suggest that you ask them to give you an agenda as to what is specifically this meeting is for, so that you can require the correct staff to be there. And let's see what this meeting is about and what they have.
I'm not taking anything, Paul. Okay, what, after Councillor Cutting and saying that, what's the feeling of the rest of the council? Because in the letter, I mean, the biggest thing is West Grey's come to a resolution regarding collection facilities within the municipal road rights, or the municipal road right-of-ways. And as such, I propose that Nextera meet with the West Grey representatives in West Grey in the coming weeks to attempt to come to a resolution regarding road use matters. Please advise when the appropriate West Grey representatives are available to meet, 28th to 31st, which I'm not, or alternatively the 3rd to the 7th. I'm saying I could, but I don't know about the rest of the committee. So Bev is suggesting that we put it off, and in the letter as it's presented and was passed, can we put in, and further to your request for a vote? Yeah, Mark's suggesting, I suggest to Mark, upon receipt of this letter, is there still consideration, and what are the points, before we meet, what are the points that you want to discuss?
Yes, so that we have an idea going into it exactly what they want resolved.
Okay. John?
Yes, and I would agree with that, Mr. Mayor. Every good meeting has to have an agenda, and if you don't know what's on the agenda, everybody can sit around and eat cookies and drink coffee. but doesn't accomplish much. So I think we better have a clear-cut agenda on what needs to be discussed.
Yeah, I agree.
Direction for Mark to send that out with the letter in response to next year is 26th. Councillor Rappi.
Do we have, like, Mark, is there a road use agreement, like, is there anything put together yet on paper, or has it all just been, we would like this, they would like this, like, instead of agenda, should we be asking for, like, we should be starting in a place different than just at a high level? Shouldn't there be an agreement, a draft agreement to discuss points to or something?
Well, we're not at that stage. I mean,
No?
we're at the stage right now, I believe, in this is, you know, this is the requirements. We already have a bylaw of what requirements are needed by West Grey.
Yeah.
And the peer review of what they're putting out there may change that dramatically. But until that information is fully back, I say we don't enter, you know, we don't complete or enter into that until we get the peer review. Now, the peer review on that aspect of it may take 3 weeks. I believe that on some of the environmental issues, that peer review will, I'm assuming, would take 3 to 4, maybe a year. I'm not totally certain to be able to determine that, but you know, there might be aspects, as I say, it might be a month, and some of them might be 12 months to get to peer review and find if the correct information is in there, whether it's valid that they put in there.
So maybe the agenda, like the Deputy Mayor was saying, is really, so they must have some points of, there must be like topics within the road use agreement other than the conduit. There's all the other components like driving on the road. I think that's part of that agreement, right? Is that still road use agreement?
Yeah, there was a road use agreement would be on those turning lanes.
Yeah, corner widening and all that stuff.
Corner widening.
Yeah.
And one of the bigger ones on that is which engineers or what engineering firm are you going to use. I think that's addressed in the letter, saying that we need to see the engineering firm to be able to do that assessment of the roads you want to use, what culverts, bridges are on there, and assess those before your 75-ton cranes or whatever they're going to, the heavy equipment that they're going to use, if they ever get to that point, would be going across them, or whether it will carry them.
All right, thanks.
And one more point, I think the Director of Infrastructure has to be present at all these conversations when it comes to road. I think the one thing that we are missing is how are they going to cross the Saugeen River at St. John's Church? And the Director of Infrastructure does have definite ideas on that, as do I. And may as well say it right now, I think we're favoring boring underneath the river versus attaching any cables to the bridge or going overhead. So we'll put that out there.
Okay. So Mark, I guess the direction as we've gone around on here is right back to the point of sending it to them and asking what points are they having trouble with in coming to a understanding where West Grey is, and bring those back, and we'll see about a meeting after they have digested our letter to them. Okay? All right. Always a topic that brings some windy discussion to the table. Keeps just getting cooler and cooler.
Changes with the seasons.
Okay. The next one on your report, Mark, is to dealing with the Bonfield Company and solar energy. What do you got for us on that one, Mark?
Yes, as council may recall, they had passed 5 different resolutions at an earlier council meeting to support in principle the applications for these solar projects. Upon submission for the FIT approval, Mr. Allen, the proponent for Bonfield, was informed that they had to use the company name that the FIT application was applied for under. So the only difference in their proposal is the different name, Bonfield NCC Solar LP as compared to the former one, construction. So they've requested that council approve that as well, and it was appropriate that this go back to council for approval, or at least consideration for approval.
Okay. Any comments before Mark hands out? And do we need just one motion to change on the 5 applications, or do we need a motion on each one of them?
I do have a motion that would basically authorize the mayor to sign the 5 resolutions, so a resolution for each of the proposed solar projects.
Okay. Embracing resolution. John, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see on every proposal here, resolution, it is for a 10 megawatt AC ground mount solar generating facility. All of them are the same. How many acres of good farmland does 10 megawatts cover?
It was even difficult for me in my illustrious time to figure out how many acres or acre it took to get 100 bushels of corn, let alone get this much solar.
It's going to be about 3/4 of an acre right now.
Well, that's kind of counting your eggs before they hatch. The corn's not up that high just yet. I can't give you an absolute definite answer on that, John. If my memory serves me right, we were somewhere between 6 to 10 acres that would encompass each one of those projects. But I believe it was less than half that would actually be covered. And I'm just going by memory without having the full document here in front of me.
Okay, and I just tend to differ with that, I guess, just with the idea of, I saw the maps, and I mean, I know one 200-acre farm that half of it was covered with lines that suggested that it was going to be more than that. And I guess I'm wondering how big 10 megawatts is going to be.
So I'm just throwing it out there as what I thought, and I find it very somewhat similar to what our aggregate extraction. You can have 100 acres, but the extraction under license, but the extraction area itself is smaller. That's the way I remember it, and I'm absolutely could stand to be corrected because it's been quite a while, and I'm not 100% certain on those numbers. Councillor Marshall, Don.
I would think that's a 10 megawatt project on Interforest, the roof on Interforest, and what would that be, 5 or 6 acres on the roof? That wouldn't be that big.
Well, the building itself is about 500,000 square feet, give or take. That's closing in on 10 acres type of thing. And yeah, I think somewhere between a quarter to a third of the roof was being covered. So that's where I was kind of coming as well too on it, Don. But you would have areas of where they were going to fit it, I guess, and fencing and a few other different things going on those ground mount ones as well too, John. Okay, John.
I guess my point being, I guess farmland's farmland, and yes, in Grey County maybe there isn't some A1, A2 farmland. I think these rules were made in downtown Toronto as some other rules are made, but recognizing that fact, we do have some pretty good farmland in Glenelg, Bennick, Normanby, where these, well, not in Glenelg, but in Bennick and Normanby are where these are going to go. But the land is still Class 3 and Class 4, which I guess Class 4 and beyond is where these are going to go. But if you take a look at the soil maps, you'll find that I'm going to say 3/4 of the land in West Grey is Class 4, 5, or 6. So is this going to be the end of these coming forward, recognizing that we can grow corn, we can grow soys with the best of them in Ontario, just because our land doesn't add up? I think we're taking a tremendous amount of land out of production in Grey and Bruce counties. And I won't be voting in favor of this. I didn't before, and I won't this time either. I think it opens the room for, shall we say, some loopholes to be crossed, and I think there'll be some I's not dotted and some T's not crossed. And going forward, this, I think, is a bad thing. And you know what, the councillors do have certain, I guess, standards, principles, whatever. I've heard the fact that, yes, you should be able to do what you want with your own land. But when this, shall we say, Green Energy Act was forced down the throats of the citizens of Ontario, this was included in it. I do know that there's all kinds of land in some places that could be used for this purpose in all townships. I do know there's better places for them, there's land that is not productive. I do know that there's 3 of these farms that anybody would love to have, and to take this land out of production, I think, is a crime. I really do. I can't support this, no how, no way, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before I introduce the motion?
I would respectfully ask for a recorded vote, Mr. Mayor.
I thought you were going to wait till I introduced the motion, but okay, you jumped ahead of me.
May as well do it before.
Okay, I'm going to introduce the motion.
Should be to 158.13.
Okay. So I have a motion moved by David Molson and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby authorizes the Mayor to sign Resolutions 154-13 to 158-13, supporting in principle the 5 ground mount solar generating facilities proposed by Bondfield NCC Solar LP. Any questions or comments on the motion? Mark, I'll ask you to take the vote.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
No.
Councillor Cutting.
No.
Councillor Eccles.
Yes.
Mayor Eccles.
Yes.
Councillor Lawrence.
No.
Councillor Marshall.
Yes.
Councillor Mollison.
Yes.
Councillor Rapke.
Yes.
Councillor Thompson.
No.
Okay, that motion passed 5-4. I'll declare it carried. Okay. Thank you, Mark. All right. The next one, Mark's seeking council direction. As council is very much aware, the County of Grey is doing a transportation master plan. And one of our other municipalities is asking for support in delaying the public consultation of that. So, and Mark, further comments?
And as you may know, there were a couple public consultation meetings held already in April, but in future instances, Grey Highlands does want to make sure that lower tiers are consulted prior to any further public consultation sessions.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments at this point in time? Deputy Mayor Bell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would wholeheartedly support this. I think there's too many unanswered questions as to what's going to revert back to lower tiers, whether it be bridges, whether it be roads. There's some items that need to be talked about at Grey County. I don't see this going anywhere too fast, but there's some of, shall we say, some people in the county want to move this along faster than some other ones at the lower tiers.
Okay. Councillor Lawrence.
Well, I certainly agree with the Deputy Mayor. Having attended the Warden's Forum, I have to say I was astounded to see what was being suggested. West Grey is certainly getting an awful lot back, and to me it's totally wrong. They should at least consult with the lower tiers, who's going to have to pick those up before they go out to the public, and so I'd certainly support that.
Very good. Councillor Eccles. John?
Well, to have the public consultation before they have consultation with the municipalities, it makes it awful hard for us to go to the people that elected us here and give them answers when we don't know what's going on before they do.
John Bell?
Then I would wholeheartedly agree with that, Councillor Eccles. There have been some things done a little backwards lately that need to be straightened out.
Mr. Mayor, I
Councillor
also
Lawrence.
gathered that some of the information coming forward isn't always the same. You're getting different answers.
Yes, there certainly has been. To say the plan itself is still in draft form, but I think that this would be an opportunity to get a little bit more lower tier elected officials to be able to comment. The public consultation meetings certainly were open to all residents, whether you were an elected official or whether you were an individual that lived on a county road or lived on a side road in Chatsworth or Southgate or West Grey or on a street in Owen Sound. But putting it so that we can ask and answer some of those questions that will be coming forward from the public, as it is starting to generate a bit of publicity. Any other comments? I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby supports the April 8, 2013 Municipality of Grey Highlands resolution requesting the County of Grey not to proceed with any further public review of the County of Grey Master Transportation Plan until a consultation with lower tier municipalities is conducted. Any further questions or comments on the motion? I don't know. You moved it. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, Mark? Absolutely. Anything else further, Mark? You're good? Okay. Any questions of Mark at this point in time? Once, twice, okay. You're off the hook, Mark. Breathe again. Bylaws. We have two bylaws this evening, number 42 and number 44, sorry. And do you want to comment before I introduce it? Okay, Mark?
Just a minor amendment was pointed out to me, a bit of a metric conversion problem. First page of the bylaw, section 3, Roman numeral 1, minimum front yard 6 meters. It says 29.6 feet in brackets. Should be converted should say 19.6 feet. That's the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Everybody's clear on that? It was a setback. Somebody similar to myself with big fingers hit a 2 instead of a 1 when they were typing it up. We know who to blame. Yeah, it's not you. Okay. So it'll be, just to have that correction, it'll be as amended. So I do have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that bylaw number 42, 2013, being a bylaw to rezone lands described as parts lot 1 and 2, concession 13, former village of Newstead, Goodsky, be now read a third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any further questions on the motion? And that's yes, and that's why this one is first and second reading was done. Waited until the county had passed it, and that was passed at the county earlier in the month, and now it's back here for us to pass it as well too for the zoning. Okay? Any further questions on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And bylaw number 44, Mark? is a bylaw dealing with the Elmwood Fire Department joint agreement. Do you want to comment or you want me to? I will. The bylaw is in front of you. Staff, myself, and it's been in front of council in various forms a number of times. This was the last draft that was proposed by Wes Gray, and it's been taken to Brockton Council. I'm hoping that we can support this, but I would caution that maybe this should be read just the first and second time. It is going in front of Brockton Council next Monday, the 27th, and I believe that for whatever reason this late last week, their CEO had a question around clause 17. There wasn't any, I don't think we had any concerns on it. Christine, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Worship, and I agree with you in terms of the bylaw having the attention of this council for first and second reading only. I would suggest that would be appropriate. Brockton CAO has just a question around clause 17 that deals with if there is a dispute in any part of the bylaw and it is determined that we go through the Arbitrations Act, what is the process involved? So I believe it's just a matter of having a dialogue with Brockton to see if it is satisfactory or if there's some fine-tuning that we need to do with that clause. So I would like that opportunity to have a discussion with Brockton CAO tomorrow upon his return and have that before council at the next council meeting of June 3rd.
Very good. And I think in reviewing it myself, the Arbitration Act is pretty straightforward on what is to be done. I'm not certain where his concern or whether there is an interpretation thing on it that he's looking for, but if we could do it first and second time and bring it back. I don't think that at this point in time, after about 3 years, that 1 week is going to make that much difference between the 27th and the 3rd. Okay. All right. I'm going to introduce, I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 44, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into an Elmwood Fire Department joint agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and the Municipality of Brockton, be now read a first and second time. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay, that's it for bylaws, Mark. Very good. New business. Any new business? Christine, CEO, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. It's just by way of announcement, if I might, Your Worship. I would like to inform Council that I have been elected to the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association Board of Directors. I was elected last week, and the main purpose of the association is the commitment to continuously improve municipal management and to promote leadership excellence in local government public service.
And on behalf of Council, congratulations. I think that's good. Okay, any other new business? Council members? Addendums. Notice of motion or direct motion? Don't believe or recognize any. There's no closed sessions. Question period. At this point in time, if there was any, we'll take questions from the floor, from the gallery, on anything that was in the agenda this evening. Are there any questions? Mr. Goodsky, Paul. Mm-hmm. These aren't road crossings, these are in the road allowance, in the right of way. Yeah, so that's where, okay. Yep. I know. Okay. We will inform them of that. Thanks, Paul. Any other questions? Very good. Municipal Act notices marked. Don't believe there are any. Excellent. Councillor Mollison.
Number 20, Your Worship.
Could you turn on your microphone? I didn't hear you.
Number 20.
I'm sorry, I won't do that anymore to you. Thank you, Dave. I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Councillor Mollison moves that. We stand adjourned until the next session.
Thank you.